Just wanted to be double sure before I get started.
Hi, Lalita. So I think there's some technical issues, but we have recorded this session.
Okay.
So this is the session.
All right. So I'll get started. Then maybe you can put it up afterwards, right?
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure.
Great, great, great. I'll get started. That's not an issue. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I think it's live streaming now. Great. That's what even the kids have confirmed. Thank you so much. Yeah, we are up. Great. Hi, guys. So let's get started with the fifth session of the Azure Fundamental series that we're doing at IIT Madras. And in today's session, we are going to be discussing Azure Resource Management and Deployment. That is the topic for today. For those who are, though I know like a couple of you guys are attending the session from the first go, so very good for that. But those who are joining for the first time, let me give a quick brief introduction about myself. So I am Navika, working as a Azure Cloud Engineer at a Fortune 400. I'm also Microsoft Most Valuable Professional in the Azure category for 3 consecutive years. And definitely that speaks about my area of expertise, which is cloud computing, Azure, and literally everything related to it. I have, I've got the opportunity because I've been in the technical community for quite good period of time now. So I've got some great opportunities. For example, I've spoken at Microsoft Ignite, judged Microsoft Imagine Cup, junior mentor tech together hackathons in Seattle and Chicago, and stuff like that. And I'm really passionate about imparting technical education, especially on Azure and cloud computing, to a larger audience. And I've been, conducted a lot of such sessions. In fact, one of the common things between you guys and me is that even I have completed a postgrad diploma in programming from IIT Madras. So, lovely course that even I got an opportunity to complete. And that's a little bit about myself. And apart from that, I'm a lot in using technology for a good cause. I've been into community service for over a decade now. And yeah, so, I've been into empowering visually impaired students with Azure on Microsoft 365 tools and stuff like that. So that's where I usually, that's one of my passions as well. And definitely for the work that I have done, I've been recognized as the Women's Achiever of India, India Book of Record holder, and Primerica Spirit of Community Service awardee, and a couple of them more. So that's a little bit about myself. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn to know more about me and to be updated with the updates. So that's my LinkedIn, Navika Choda. If you haven't connected with me yet, please feel to do that. We'll have 5-10 minutes towards the end of the session for Q&A, but you know, I know you guys, in case you have any questions towards the after the session as well, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I will answer your questions. That's my YouTube, and that's my Twitter. So feel free to take a screenshot or just stay here for next 3 seconds and then move forward. Great, guys. Quick agenda for today. So, what's the agenda like? First, we're going to be doing the quick recap of what we have done in the previous sessions. Quick 5 minutes recap, not more than that. If you have any questions, you can either reach out to me later on or you can watch our previously live stream session. So, everything is there on the IIT degree, YouTube official YouTube channel, like how it is being live streamed today. We have done that in the past 4 sessions as well. Then what we're going to be discussing today is different ways to deploy Azure resources. We're going to be digging into ARM templates today. We're going to learn a bit more about what's ARM templates and stuff like that. We are going to be discussing about PowerShell. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. And then we're going to do, as usual, we do a practical demo. We're going to do the same today. Okay. Just to give some brief about these series. So we had 5 series like initially planned. Now we have 6 sessions, sorry. And in one series, we had 5 sessions planned initially. Now we have 6 sessions. The first one was about cloud concepts and introduction to Azure. Second one was about more about core architecture and compute services. Third one was about Azure storage services. Fourth one was about access management and identity and security and all of that stuff. Today's session is about the resource management and deployment with the ARM templates. The next session, which will be notified to you whenever it happens, but definitely in the near future, that's going to be how do you monitor your Azure resources, okay? Like how do you do the performance monitoring and stuff like that. With completing all these sessions, if you've attended it, we have covered most of the part of the AZ900 fundamental certification, right? Microsoft Azure fundamental certifications, and definitely you have to do self study as well at your end to ace that. But this is something that really gets your journey started in cloud and Azure for sure. All right. Now let's do a quick recap as I promised. So the first session we completed introduction to cloud computing and Azure. We discussed about different deployment models. We discussed about the benefits of cloud computing, different services that are provided. All right. Okay, quick guys, tell me a couple of benefits of cloud computing on the chats. Tell me if you've attended the session. Just message a couple of um, benefits of cloud computing. What could it be? Yes, scalability, very good. What else? Pay as you go model, amazing, yeah, that's right. And the good part is your terminologies are right. Scalability, pay as you go model, cost efficiency, right? Yes, reliable, absolutely. Scalability, easy to use, virtualization, yeah. Good guys, very good. Great. It is global, yes, very good, Akash. Compute power, yeah, great. So this tells me that the ones that who have stick to the session since the beginning, you guys are well aware of it. Okay, these all things should be on your tips. And actually, it's that was the whole idea that I my whole idea was to teach it in a way that becomes very easy for you to remember as well. And definitely your self study also adds up to it. So great. For the people who have joined for the first time, no issues. I'd recommend you to go to the Microsoft Learn documentation once. You can read about it over there as well. Or you can and oblique or please go through the sessions we have done. Okay. So this is what we have. The first session was all about cloud computing. Second session is about Azure and compute services. So what we did in second services, I gave you a brief insights of different categories of services that we have. In Azure, we looked into Azure portal, we deployed virtual machines, we hosted a website on the virtual machine, and we did some lovely stuff, all demo. All right. So that is what we did in the second session. Third, we it was all about Azure storage. So we discussed different types of Azure storage. We did again hands-on demo. We created some shareable drives, for file storage, and that's what we did in Azure storage. The last session was about identity and access management, where we discussed about different ways of authentication, and some network related things, etc. All right. So all of those things were discussed in the last session. Now, today is the fifth session where we are going to be discussing everything related to different ways of deploying resources on Azure. All right, so I'll be a little quick now. So even if you're attending this session for the first time, I recommend you to stick here. Try to understand as much as I can, explain you and as much as you can, and then later on, feel free to have a look at the previous sessions. Let's do it that way. Okay, so now tools and features to deploy resources on Azure. So I've already told this last time as well that, one second, guys. Oops, I think my screen is still visible, right? I hope you're able to see my PPT, right? Okay, great. Great, guys. Thanks. All right. So different ways of deploying resources on Azure. Okay. Basically, what are the different ways of deploying resources, or what are the different ways of interacting with Azure? So one is Azure portal, which we have worked on for the last 2, 3, 4 sessions now. All right. What is the Azure portal? It's basically a web-based unified console, which is actually an alternative to command line tools. All right. So it's pretty simple to use. Let me real quick actually take you to my Azure portal. So this is how the Azure portal typically looks like. Here it is in front of you, all right. So once you get yourself registered and you have those credits for Azure, you will have the access to your Azure portal, and this is how it looks like. We have already deployed so many resources last time, storage account, resource group, virtual machine, stuff like that. This is the first way how you can interact with Azure, and the simplest of all, honestly. Pretty simple, nice, user-friendly UI it is, and you can simply go create a resource group and create resources within it. So matter of couple of clicks and your job is done. The second one is Cloud Shell. Now, here in the Azure portal itself, you have something known as your Cloud Shell towards the right panel or right corner of your screen in the Azure portal. And here you have two options, Bash and PowerShell. So here you have two options where you can deploy your resources through this as well. Okay. If I select PowerShell, then you have to select a storage account, you have to proceed. All right. So stuff like that. So the different ways as to how you can basically deploy your resources on Azure, and a couple of them here I've showed you on the portal itself. This is how you can do. Now, something that I want that we're going to be digging in today a little bit would be ARM templates. All right. So ARM templates is also a way as to how you can deploy your resources on Azure. So what is an ARM template? It is basically a JSON file, okay, JavaScript object notation in a full form. And that is actually your what do you call that helps you in deploying and managing your resources on Azure. The best part is that you can configure your resources in declarative syntax. So what does that mean? I'll show you everything in practical as well. Don't worry about these terminologies. So what is declarative syntax? I'm sure you guys are into coding, so you know the meaning of what declarative syntax means, right? How many of you are aware what is declarative means? Okay, so declarative syntax is basically that you have to just mention what needs to be created. You don't have to mention the how part of it. That is what is declarative syntax. All right. So that's a couple of pointers about ARM template. Another question is why ARM templates. Now, see, try to understand why I'm taking you over here. So now you have something known as biceps also, which is a simpler form. It uses simpler syntax. So now we have a bicep that is common, but ARM templates also is one of the key features. All right. So why ARM templates? Now imagine if you want to deploy 10 virtual machines. Okay. I give you a task, go deploy, please deploy 10 virtual machines for me. And the name should be VM1, VM2, VM3, so on, so on, VM10. Okay. And please do the deployment for me. Now, if you go to the Azure portal and you deploy these 10 VMs one by one, definitely you can do that through the Azure portal. But to make it more efficient, we can use something like ARM templates or biceps, which helps you, which basically which helps you with the reuse. Guys, I will please answer your questions towards the end, so that I don't get hindered in between the explanation. Okay, so I'll take your questions towards the end. Don't worry. Okay, so it has a reusable syntax. So, for example, if you want to deploy 5, 10 virtual machines in a go, I can use ARM templates. It is definitely more efficient. It is more efficient in terms of time as well. It has an integration with Azure DevOps, and it's really good for tracking your deployments. All right. Whatever they explained so far, it'll be more clear when I actually help, you know, explain you with an example. Now, what is the basic structure of a template? Now, before I actually go into it, let me show something to you. So this is my Azure portal, right? Let me go to this virtual machine. Actually, let me go to make it things more simpler for you. Go small one. This is storage account. All right, correct. We had deployed this one. Scroll down, and I'll see something known as export template option under the automation category on the left panel. And you will see the ARM template version of this storage account that I had manually created. And then you have in Bicep or in Terraform format as well, but I'm showing you the ARM template as of now. So this is how your ARM template behind the scenes looks like. I did not deploy this Azure storage account with the help of ARM template earlier. I had just used What did I use? I did it in the manual way. But now, this is how it looks behind the scenes if you want to see how it looks in the form of ARM template. So what typically happens is, how ARM template works is that you have this basic structure. If you see, ARM template has this structure. You have something known as schema, which gives the schema of a particular resource. Then this is the content version. Then there's something known as parameters, which we enter during the deployment time. There's something known as functions. There's something known as variables. If you want to reuse certain variables again and again, we declare it within the variable section. We have something known as resources. This is the main part, line number 7. This is where resource deployment happens. We want to deploy a storage account. You have to mention the type over here. If you deploy the virtual machine, you have to mention the type over here. And then you have something known as outputs. So once a resource deployment has been done, what shows as the result on your console is basically the output. All right. So these 6, 7 fields basically make up the structure of an ARM template. Now, let's see this. On the left side is a screenshot as to how do you deploy a resource or a storage account manually. The right screenshot depicts the manual creation of storage account. The left screenshot depicts how it looks when you deploy it through ARM template. So you see, when you do it manually, you have to enter the subscription resource group, which you will have to set over here as well on the ARM template. But I've not showed it over here in the screenshot. I'll show it to you later on. You have to enter the Azure storage account name, on the ARM template. You have to enter the region. You have to enter the location over here. Either you can enter direct, or I'm saying I want to take it from the resource group. Whatever the resource group's location is, the same would be that of the storage account. Then, for example, if I want to mention the performance tier and the redundancy option, here it is under SKU. So it's pretty much the same, but the only thing is that here we are doing in the form of IAC, that is infrastructure as a code, to make things more efficient and something better when you want to, if you deploy an entire infrastructure. See, in Azure, you like, as of now we're talking about individual resources like VM, storage account, network interface card, and stuff like that. But when we talk about Azure infrastructure, sorry, when we talk about Azure infrastructure, that's basically an amalgamation, or it's like huge. In an Azure infrastructure contains a number of resources. It could be 10, 20, etc. Right? So in that case, it's always efficient to have resources deployed in the form of IAC, that is infrastructure as a code, because it helps you in making your code more reusable, more efficient, is more less time consuming, and there are less chances that you end up making any mistakes over there because everything is being coded and you've already reused it, right? Okay, I hope this is clear. Before we get into PowerShell, let me show now how all of this works behind the scenes. As in, I'll show you the working. So I have this basic a template of Azure storage account. All right, what you can see on the screen, I've put it up on the VSC, and it is in the form of ARM template. As I said, schema, content version, and the main things come over here is resources. So as I am deploying a storage account, so under the type, I have Microsoft storage account / storage account. That means now here I've declared, okay, the resource that I'm deploying now would be a storage account. Then I have to mention the name of the resource, that is the name of the storage account in this case. And I've said, okay, please take this from the parameters. And the parameter section is over here, okay? And then I have the location. I again say, please take it from the parameter section. I have this queue. Again, I'm saying take it from the parameter section. And then I have properties. Again, I'm referring to the parameter section. All right. So this is how your this works. All right. This is your ARM template. Now, Here I've referred to parameters a lot many times within the resource section of the ARM template, which is in the JSON format. Now, what I'm doing is I am declaring now things in parameter. So, for example, storage account name. Now, here don't have any default value. So, this will be required. That means I, as a user, will be entering my storage account name during the time of deployment. And you'll see that I'll do that. Location, I'm saying, okay, make the default location as East US. SKU name, I'm saying again, make the default value as standard LRS. And these are the different allowed values. The ones who attended this last time, they know that what this typically means. What are the different types of redundancy options in a storage account? You guys are aware? What are the different type of redundancy option? Can anyone tell me in the chat? Anyone? Okay, I'll give you a hint. LRS, ZRS, GRS. Okay, I don't think you guys remember that, but okay, those are different type of redundancy options, and you can see that here as well. With the different access tiers, you have hot, you have cool, and you have archive and stuff like that. Okay, so here I've mentioned make the access tier as hot. Simple. Now, if I were to deploy this, and actually, let me show you one more thing to make things more relatable. So this is my storage account, and this is the ARM template version of it. Let me now do one. Oops, how can I? What's happening? One second, guys. I want to open this on a separate window. Okay, yeah. Let me do this. Yeah, see, this is your ARM template version. I hope you're able to see two tabs right now. So the left tab is basically your ARM template version of the storage account that we created last time, versus this is your manual creation. So I mean, it's easy to understand now, I think, right? Whatever things are here, it's the same over here in ARM template, but it's in the ARM template form, right? All of this stuff. So similarly, if you go to your virtual machine as well, if I take you to the VM, and if I take you to the export template option of it under the automation category, you're going to see an ARM template of this also behind the scenes. Okay, ARM template bicep terraform. I'm showing you the ARM template version. It has all your disks, your NIC, and all of that stuff. Great. Now that we are under this good stuff, let me take you to the PowerShell and do a real quick deployment to make you understand a couple of things. Now, as I told you, you can use PowerShell on Azure as well. How I showed you through the Cloud Shell, but I'm using my local PowerShell and I'll be connecting it to Azure. The different ways to do the same thing, I'm doing it through this way. For example, this is my simple script. What I'm doing is first I need to connect to my Azure storage account. So I'll do that. Because this is on a local machine, right? So I need to connect to my storage account. Oh, sorry, I need to connect to my Azure portal, my bad, okay? So I'm connecting to my Azure portal. The connection has been succeeded. The next is, once you've connected to the Azure portal, the next step is subscription. I need to connect to the subscription as well, right? One can have multiple subscriptions as well. If you have multiple subscriptions, you can get easy subscription and you'll get the list of subscriptions. I have one subscription currently in this one, so I'm using this particular. Now my subscription has been set to my Visual Studio Enterprise subscription. The next one is I need to create a resource group. Okay, I hope I don't have any resource group by this name. So let's do that way. So test RG3 is the name of my resource group. So if you want to create a resource group, this is the command for it, my PowerShell command. New is resource group. You have name, you have to mention the name of the resource group, and then have to mention the location of it. Oops. Okay. So I click this, I run it. This helps me create a new resource group by the name TestRG3 on my Azure portal. See, provision has been succeeded. Had there been any issue, I would have seen it over here. I'll show you. Let's double check if this resource group has been created or not. Go to my Azure portal. I go to resource groups. See, TestRG3. This is the one that I just created, right? TestRG3. Here is my Azure portal, and I'm going to be seeing TestRG3. I didn't come on the portal. I didn't do anything. Everything was happening through PowerShell connected to my Azure portal. Okay. I have a resource group now. Fair enough. Good. But I want to deploy a resource within it. So let me deploy a simple Azure storage account in it. So this is the command line. It's new deployment, and I have this template file. So what I just showed you, right? This template file, storage account. This is a simple ARM template for creating a storage account. I have saved it in my in a path in my local machine, and now I am referring to this template file. Okay, so let's do that. Let's see. Hopefully, no errors. Now, you see, it is asking for my storage account name. Why is it asking for my storage account name? Why is it asking for my storage account name? Any idea? Because in my ARM template, I have mentioned it explicitly that I need a name. And if I need a storage account name, I'm saying, okay, get it from the parameters. And the parameters, I have no default value. So it'll ask me now during the time of deployment that, hey, tell me the name of the storage account you want to deploy, right? So that is what it is. So I go back and I have to give a name to my storage account. Guys, it should be unique. Please remember. Entered. Now, it might take a couple of seconds or minutes to deploy. It's still running phase. See, it has succeeded. So my storage account has been created. How can I double check? I go back to my new created resource group and I refresh it. Oh, it was here. See, I have a new storage account created. You see? Understood? I'm not even touching my Azure portal. I'm just using for reading basis. I'm doing everything through my PowerShell. So that is how your PowerShell works. I hope this is understood. Great, guys. Similarly, you can try this out with another resource as well. All right, so this is how my Azure storage account can be deployed through PowerShell. Now, PowerShell is not just about these one-line commands. You can have a PowerShell script in place. What is that? It's basically an amalgamation of all these commands, and we have a proper script which has a certain aim and goal, which can be maybe used on a repetitive manner as well, because it is a part of IAC at the end of the day, right? How can you manage resources? Now, this can help us manage resources as well. How? As an example, for example, if I want to count the number of virtual machines I have on my subscription, let's do that. It's very simple. I have this get easy command and I save it in a variable called total, right? You can have any total virtual machine, whatever you want. I set the count to 0. So this is basically for loop. You guys are into coding, you know. So we have a for each loop, and I'm saying, okay, traverse. I have a variable set VM. It's basically, you have that, right? I is equals to 0. I is less than 5. I plus plus in the for loop, if you recall. We've done that in the Python and IIT Madras, right? That's the same thing pretty much over here. So I have this for each loop, and I'm saying, okay, this is my variable, and total is my, I need to iterate and traverse through total. And total is nothing but the list of VMs. So this is something like list of all VMs in Azure subscription. Okay, because if you see, I've selected a particular subscription over here, so it's going as per this context that I have set. So let's suppose if here I have VM1, VM2, VM3. So what is happening over here is that here in line number 8, this is happening. Let me real quick take this. So now traversal is happening through this. First it'll go through VM1, it'll get added to count will become 1, initially it's set to 0, VM2, VM3, and whatever the total number of VMs is in the line number 11, it is just outputting that. I don't know if that's, but it's like it's giving the result, right? It's giving the output. So let's see how this works. Just removing these comments from here. Let's run this. See, total VMs 2. I get the result. Are you able to see on my left panel? So I have 2 VMs, and if I want to know that, okay, please tell me that what are the total VMs, and I want to know the status of it. So actually, just click on it, and I'll get the total virtual machines that I have running. I have 2 VMs just to double check. One is the Docker RG, and the other one is RG1, and that's the result over here. Got it? So that's how typically your this works. If I take to the Azure portal, you see the 2 VMs only, and here also on the console it is given 2, the name, and here in the result it's given 2 virtual machines. You can have scripts for multiple things, okay? It's simple that I've told you, but there are like multiple things that you can do with you can literally do everything almost, right? You're monitoring, you can have your scripts ready and stuff like that. That's how you basically work with the PowerShell, and how your PowerShell and your ARM templates also connected, I have explained. Okay, now let me take you back to I've actually done all the practical part. So the source is also covered, but still I'll show you. So if you want to get started with PowerShell, I've used the local machine one. It's a command line tool. Okay, now if you're using PowerShell on your Azure portal, the one that is provided, right? This one. So here what happens, there's no need for you to sign in, because it inherits the credentials of your Azure portal, because that's where you are, right? If I check this. So you don't have to do the sign in thing. You don't have to do the connection thing, which I'm doing over here. You see, this is not, because this I'm doing because I'm on my local machine. I need to connect to my Azure. But there it's not required. So that's the difference. So it's again, what is PowerShell? It's a command line tool. It's really good for automations, as I've already told you. It's a scripting language. You can do multiple things with it. You name it and you can do your monitoring resource, prepare a script for it, connect it to Azure, run it. It's very good for automation. If I want, okay, every time if I want to check the number of VMs, every morning I want to check, okay, how many VMs I have on Azure portal. Why should I go again and check manually? Prepare a script, connect it to Azure, run it, and every morning you'll get the result. You can automate it further as well. For example, the parameters that I entered in my Azure storage account, honestly, I can automate that as well. That is, you can literally automate it fully. That one click from my Azure DevOps and my deployment is done. I don't even have to give the name of my Azure storage account or the resource name. So there is a way to do that as well. But since today is it was the first session, and I never wanted to get into that level of automation. Having said that, we have covered a lot. But try this out at your end as well, and let me know if any questions. It's a scripting language, and it's used for the deployment of resources and monitoring. Basically, what are the basic steps of deploying a resource using PowerShell? So you have to connect to Azure. You have to get the list of subscriptions if you have multiple subscriptions. Set a subscription, create a resource group, and deploy your resources within. So that's the basic. If I were to tell you that as to how to deploy a resources on Azure. And then after that, we have, oops, are you able to see my screen or is it gone? Okay, let me, now is it up? Guys, give me a second. Okay. Now do you see? Great, thank you. All right, so yeah, these are the steps that I've followed over here as well, and I've showed you over here that resource group creation, and then we deploy the resource. And then we did the demo part, which I showed you. We did a demo of deployment of Azure storage account. We also did monitoring of Azure VM, right? Even that was covered. And yes, that's pretty much it in today's session. I would really recommend you guys to try this by yourself. It's easy and it's actually fun because you're watching it for the first time. I do understand that you know it can be pretty new to you, but honestly speaking, this is pretty much fun to do. You can play around with it, have some interesting scripts up and stuff like that. All right, guys. All right, so I'll give 5 minutes for Q&A, and I'm sorry about my throat. It's literally, yeah. So tell me if you have any questions. But today's session, I mean, honestly, I've gone a bit more depth today because I wanted to explain it from more practical perspective. So tell me if any questions else, please. Tanya has a question. Will we get any certificate? I mean, this session is all about preparing you for the AZER 900 certification exam. If you want to take the AZER 900 certification, then you'll have to apply for it, sit for the exams. If you pass it, then you'll get the certification. That's basically Microsoft Azure Fundamental Certification. You'll have to register at Microsoft site. As far as the certification of the sessions is concerned, I think the IT team would be the best one to answer that. But yeah, like the series is basically for preparing you for the sessions. So preparing you for the AZER 900 at the end. And if you're talking about that certification, then okay. So Harsh has given a question. Not able to connect to Azure through my PowerShell, or do we need to connect it manually or something else? If you're connected to a local machine, then this is how it is. Harsh, because you're using it for the first time, possible you might need to install certain modules. So that's like the troubleshoot area. So you can check about that. But the way I have told you that works, the connection works. Rewatch my session, I'd recommend, and then you can sort of follow the steps. If that also doesn't work, it's possible that some modules you can install certain modules. You can check that on the net and you can install those proper official modules. You can check out the Microsoft learn documents for that as well. Like it's just for some extra context, and then you can see which modules need to be downloaded. Is there going to be a revision session? Rugved is asking. Next session is the last session, so I'll try to do some not revision like, but I'll just do quick recaps, and then if you have any question, you can ask me. I'll check with IIT if we can have a dedicated a revision session, but I would say you can actually rewatch the sessions that I've done, or else in the next session, it's not too The next session is not going to be too heavy because it's the last session. We have covered almost everything, so we'll keep the last 30 minutes for Q&A or whatever slash revision. All right. I mean, question is that when should we choose scripting in Azure portal? Again, these two are different ways of deploying a resources on Azure. And but if you want to do something, you want to automate something, or you know that your infrastructure is literally huge, like you have 15, 20 resources connected to each other, you have networking and stuff. In that case, you can go ahead and have your automation, that is infrastructure as a code in place, that one click and all your infrastructure get deploys. If you want to make your thing more efficient. Having said that, Azure portal is also there, but automation is more of, you know, is like, again, an efficient way to have the resources deployed if their like infrastructure is huge and if it is repetitive. Okay, let me see if I have any questions on the chats on the YouTube. Okay, I don't see any questions over here. All right, guys, I'll just give one more minute. Ask me any question if you have, else you can reach out to me later on as well. I'll give 1 2 more minutes for Q&A. But again, I would say, someone is saying for materials, the reference material that I would give for AZ900 is definitely official Microsoft Learn documentation on AZ900, Microsoft Azure Fundamental Exam. Please refer to that because that has your exact course. It has all the subtitles. It has also all the subtopics within. And if you're planning to sit for AZ900 exam or even not, please you know please refer to that Microsoft Learn documentation. It's very helpful. I would say that should be your go-to reference material. Okay, someone is asking, I think, no one ask. Or you can have other resources created and get like whatever you want to. I mean, as an example, we did storage account. We have virtual machines, whatever. You can have logic apps, function apps, stuff like that. Completely depends on the resource that you are working on. Okay, so you have plethora of resources on Azure. You have plethoras of categories and services on Azure. So definitely, you have a lot which can be deployed. So try that out. I mean, it's good. That's a good homework as well. Try out deploying different resources because the basics still remains the same that we have covered in all these 5 sessions. All right, guys. Any other questions? Okay, I don't see any questions. Yeah, someone's also adding Kubernetes in Azure. Yes, we do have Azure Kubernetes Service, AKS. You can see that as well. You have Azure Kubernetes Service on Azure. Yes. Someone's asking about Marketplace on Azure. If I'm right, that's what you're asking. You can check that out. That's simple. I mean, you can just check that out on Azure. It's more about just exploring Azure. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. All right, guys, we have one last minute left. Great. I think that was pretty much it. I don't see any more questions. If you have, please feel free to reach out to me. And thank you so much once again for attending the session. I hope you found it insightful. Feel free to give me your feedback here or later on as well on my LinkedIn. And yes, once again, thank you so much to the entire IITM team for having me for the AZ900 series, and looking forward to see you guys in the next session 6 of AZ900. Okay, do not miss that, and we'll do good Q&A round and stuff over there. Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Swati ma'am, once again, and see you guys in the next session. All right. Thank you so much. I think we can stop the live stream. I think we are done with the session. Thank you.